History in 60. The rebellion that created America. Imagine fighting for your country's freedom, surviving a brutal war against the most powerful empire on earth, only to come home and lose your farm to your own government. That's exactly what happened to thousands of Americans after the Revolutionary War. The war was over. Britain had been defeated. Independence had been won. But peace brought a new problem. Many soldiers returned home with little or no pay. Farms had been neglected, debts had piled up, and states, desperate for revenue, began demanding taxes in hard currency, gold and silver. Most farmers didn't have it. If you couldn't pay, the courts could seize your land. Some were even thrown into debtor's prison. One of those struggling veterans was Daniel Shays, a former captain in George Washington's Continental Army. Shays believed this wasn't what they had fought for. So he did something extraordinary. He gathered hundreds, then thousands of fellow farmers and veterans. Instead of attacking towns, they marched on courthouses, physically preventing judges from holding foreclosure hearings. If the courts couldn't meet, no one's farm could be taken. For many struggling families, they weren't criminals. They were heroes. But to Massachusetts leaders, they were rebels, threatening the very survival of the young republic. Then came the turning point. In January 1787, Shays and his followers marched toward the federal armory in Springfield, hoping to capture weapons and force the government to negotiate. They never got the chance. The state militia, funded largely by wealthy Boston merchants because the government lacked the money to respond quickly, opened fire. 4 rebels were killed. The rebellion collapsed. Daniel Shays escaped into hiding. At first glance, it looked like a complete failure. But America's leaders saw something far more frightening. If a few thousand angry farmers could nearly destabilize the new nation, what would happen next time? The United States was still operating under the Articles of Confederation, a system that created a national government so weak it couldn't effectively raise taxes, maintain a standing army, or quickly respond to crises. To men like George Washington, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton, Shays Rebellion wasn't just a local uprising. It was a warning. Only a few months later, delegates met in Philadelphia. Their original goal was simply to improve the Articles of Confederation. Instead, they did something far more radical. They threw the entire system away. The Constitution of the United States was born. Daniel Shays never became president. He never won the rebellion. He never even achieved most of what he demanded. But his rebellion exposed the weaknesses of a fragile new nation and helped push America toward the Constitution that still governs it today. Sometimes, history isn't changed by those who win. Sometimes it's changed by those who force everyone else to ask a terrifying question. What happens if we do nothing?